Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament Bracket Stage. This time, we're showcasing a match from the Master Sword bracket between 7th seed ProfessorRenderer and 10th seed WGarrison. And joining me today in the commentary booth is vortexofdoom. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I have played with both of these runners a lot. WGarrison is a good friend of mine. We've gotten to know each other through ladder in the tournament, and he actually had me sit alongside him a couple times as his de facto mentor, despite the fact that I was also in the tournament. He is running mentorless this week, and ProfessorRenderer is being mentored by Shareen, so should be a good match.
That it should. And I know that we've already gotten questions in the chat from the music at the very start, but both of these runners have built their own custom MSU packs.
Yeah, Garrison's, I believe, is from... Oh gosh, I'm... Etrian Odyssey.
The Etrian Odyssey series, correct.
Yep.
And then ProfessorRenderer, who we'll hear later in the tournament, has Sonic Roboblast 2. And both runners are starting at the Link's house. Both red crystals in the light world today.
And then Hera is pendant. Garrison forgetting the sign, which is an important part of Uncle Route, but remembers.
Full magic drop off the guard is a good thing.
Yeah.
Solar bombs on the triple.
With a tier 1 triple being bombs, I wonder if we'll see either runner opt for bomb escape, because with free bombs, it's very, very tempting.
Already starting with some early money today, too.
ProfessorRenderer not going to do bomb escape.
With no other weapons, that's not a fun escape route to take.
Yeah. One of the things about Uncle Route, though, is that you commit to double dipping when you do escape if you don't find a reason to do it right then. So you're highly incentivized to use whatever is at your disposal to do bomb escape. And looks like Garrison will at least get a second batch of bombs. And we'll be doing escape. Yeah, I like this play a lot. Renderer skipping that second triple makes a lot of sense if he's going to go up and check Lumberjack, because it's right on the way.
Only 5 rupees on the crab today.
Yeah, wasn't worth waiting out, so he just chucked its bush back at it.
Only bombs on Lumberjack tree today, so that's a relief to the runners. Not a guaranteed forced agony. Vortex, do you know why Garrison is not running a mentor today?
Yeah, he finds running with somebody in his ear very distracting, feels that he does his best running solo, though he states that he's learned a lot from the mentors and watching other people get mentored.
That is a Moon Pearl in the Woods Hideout.
Moon Pearl on the Woods Hideout, yeah. So he's just feels that running mentorless is going to give him the best chance to win.
Thank you. I figured you'd have at least some idea since you're his friend. Garrison's almost out of bombs for this escape route.
Okay. Clutches it out.
Because he can use the pot downstairs to kill the Mace Knight.
Yep.
ProfessorRenderer
we'll have to
in the Kakariko Village area.
Yeah, he'll have to grab another tree pull, and he'll be up to tier 2 by the time He grabs it, but he knows where he can get bombs, so this will be just fine.
We have glove in the basement. Ooh, blind's hot. And blue mail.
Okay. So Garrison, I know, actually might have been incentivized to do bomb escape because he has a bit of a history of last locationing progression and escape in open seeds if he doesn't do it early. So
he's trying to metagame himself.
I think there's some of that, and I'm sure it'll give him some peace of mind, getting that front of escape out of the way. Nothing of note in the well yet, except the bug net.
We can do a swag style kill on Aghanim. I will admit,
for those 3 bombs on Lumberjack.
I am massively enjoying this MSU pack from Garrison already.
Yeah, it's great. I know he put a lot of time and effort into it and is very proud of it. So,
arrows on tier 2. Using the fake Master Sword to kill an enemy to reset the tree pole for later. That was a pretty neat strategy there. As Garrison finds his Moon Pearl in the woods hideout. And Professor Renderer finds a hammer in the Kakariko village. We have Dark World access in 5.5 minutes.
Now, I wonder if we will be seeing Professor Renderer... Okay, finishing out the route, which I agree with. But I wonder if we'll see him head straight to Hype Cave after this, or back into the village. Blind race game today.
Early blue mail on a lot of early harps. Kind of a nice find sometimes.
Yeah, the safeties are...
Especially with how early that Dark World access comes.
Yeah, when you have just a couple hearts and green mail, the Dark World is a scary place to be. So with that early Dark World access, I'm sure both runners are going to be very happy that they just have that little extra bit of security.
And Professor Renderer is doing the back of escape, so we'll get to see the 3 checks in the back now. One of which I believe has to be the small key at this point.
No, the small key is in Dark Cross.
I forgot Dark Cross was a check for a minute there. I'm not certain who Professor Renderer's sprite is, to be honest.
It's Hat Kid from A Hat in Time. Yep.
The color palette threw me off with blue mail. And then, of course, we have one of the variations on Link for WGarrison. One of them.
Yeah, I think that's the modern Link palette.
And just money at the Watergate today.
Professor Renderer
bombs are safer for the
Oh, much safer. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, that I would use bombs every time for this, for Mini Moldarm. There's the book.
We finally learned to read, and the boots.
And, ooh, so that's tempting. You might want to hold out till you have a fire source to finish Desert off, but you could get a lot of those checks out of the way and maybe get both items for completely free. But Professor Renderer opting to continue the route once again, not get sidetracked by what he's finding.
Which I like the decision for that, because Ice Rod Cave would otherwise be a very lonely check all by itself.
Yeah. Becomes a little nicer to check again once you have the flute, but it's good to get it out of the way. And I expect that we'll see a water walk, since he's choosing to do that and has Zora money.
I would be inclined to say the same thing.
Garrison heading straight to Mini Moldarm Cave. Might be planning on making an early Agina play.
That was an unfortunate hit from that Zora, though.
Yeah, and I expect Professor Renderer will just cut his losses at this point.
And he'll go do Front of Escape. Garrison taking the hammer approach to these Moldorms, though. Seeing why hammer Moldorms just don't work sometimes. That Moldorm did not want to take a hit.
Yeah, and with hammer and boots, Professor Renderer is going to make very quick work of the Front of Escape in comparison to Garrison. Garrison does look like he's heading to the dam and then gonna head to Desert and Agina, which will be very convenient with those books.
Yes, it will.
Those boots and book. Actually opting to go straight to Hype Cave. I kind of like this. It's 5 very easy checks. If you don't do them first, you'll end up doing a whole Dark World loop. So if something like Mirror is in there, or Mitts, you could spend a lot of time. And we're getting our first look at the Dark
Ice Palace pendants with a pod green pendant. This does mean we're going to have a potential Ice Rod hunt tonight.
And Mitts are right there in Hype Cave.
That routing is incredible. And the Red Cane. And Bombos.
And Powder.
Okay. I would give this one a 9 out of 10, maybe even a 10 out of 10 just for the Mitts and Cane alone.
Yeah, that piece of heart could have been better, so but there aren't many Hyper Caves.
I'm a little biased, though. The Red Cane is probably my favorite item in this game.
It is great. No doubt about that.
That makes routing this even easier, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Because the question after Hype Cave is... And with Pendant Pod, you don't really have any reason to go that direction. So you can just finish off Stumpy and Dig Game, and then just go straight into the Village of Outcasts. If you really wanted, you could pick the Smith up and save and quit and come back in, and like it'd take a little extra time, but without the mirror, it's the way you'd have to do it.
And as an Eternality fan, I am loving every song selection he's made for this pack.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones. This is one of my favorites.
Unfortunate that the dig game was nothing today. And there we get a plastic shield. Or more officially, a fighter's shield. But plastic is about right term here too.
Yeah. I wonder if we will see either runner opt to go to blind or to Thieves Town, even if we don't find a sword. With 7 hearts and blue mail and powder, Thieves Town is not that dangerous, and with Canis, Samaria, and Hammer, blind is not that bad of a fight, swordless. So Professor Renderer is cleaning up Smith's mirrorless right away.
An interesting play, because it means he cannot do Thieves Town first.
Right. That said, he's only a save and quit away from getting back into the village with easy Dark World access with those mitts. But I know Mirror is a classic place, or Thieves Town is a classic place for Mirror. I've found it there enough times that it sticks in my memory, and if Garrison would find it there, that would make this route very nice.
I know what you mean, but switch Thieves Town for Mimic Cave. Not Mimic Cave, TR. Luckily, usually right after Mimic Cave and Big Chest. It was a mess.
Routing in these boots checks with the Smith. That's a good reason if you're gonna have to save and quit.
Especially where he also has a bottle he can route in Sick Kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is a very, very nice route. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Garrison do that immediately after Thieves Town. A dip to the front of Skullwoods isn't a highly attractive play, so it just makes sense to do this before. If you're comfortable with the Hammer Samaria blind, do
Samaria
blind
blind is not the most difficult thing to do either.
No.
If it was just Hammer, I would definitely consider it a little more strongly.
Yeah. And that said, this is great routing from Professor Renderer, giving himself a couple extra checks to maybe pick up a sword. I do expect that we'll see him make an attempt at Thieves Town after this, but... Ooh, and we see Hook Shot.
Sick Kid's got the goods today. This route is also good because we picked up Magic Powder over at Hype Cave.
Yep. So I don't know if we'll see Professor Renderer go straight into Thieves Town now. The Ice Rod...
Well, you know the thing I said about an Ice Rod hunt? It kind of just ended.
Yeah. So we're 20 minutes in. We're looking for Flippers, Mirror, Fire Rod, and Bow. And Flute. Not bad, though, for 20 minutes in. We got Mitts, Hook Shot, Hammer, Ice Rod. A lot of the items that are elusive, we've got taken care of already.
The biggest thing we are going to be missing right now, other than our swords, is probably that fire rod.
Yeah, with Fire Rod, we could be looking at a potentially full clearable TR at 20 minutes in, which...
and potential medallions for access, I forgot about those.
Right, yeah, provided that it's bomb most is... which, if you can do it that early, there's usually something in there worth doing it for.
I didn't know you could do magic powders with snake baskets to do that.
Yeah, they're magic powder is one of the most enigmatic items in the game.
And Professor Renderer is doing Skullwoods checks, which is another good play because Burner just for blind fight alone is amazing.
That will make the blind fight academic.
I was just saying, Skullwoods is another place it likes to throw early checks.
And a very nice Samaria blind fight from WGarrison. And that is the first crystal at 21 minutes, we'll say.
And looking
Just
at
under.
Chat, yes, that boss music is incredible, but here's the thing, Jere. The music that's used in this MSU, I know that each boss has its own theme because of it.
Interesting that Garrison chose not to pick up the Smith. I wonder where we're going to see him going next.
That surprises me.
With no... It looks like this might be a desert play, but with no fire source, I find this play a little questionable.
Slightly.
But though that book boots, you can get everything but land mode right now.
The game did hint at it.
Yeah, there's. It would have routed in really nicely with Smith Chain if you decided to just take a little extra time, pick up the Smiths, and
he wouldn't have been able to take the Smith to Desert Palace, which means he wouldn't be able to get in, though.
No, I mean pick up the Smith, clear that out, get purple chest, and then if you have to do mirrorless, fluteless, Smith Chain, if you're gonna make a desert play, that's a good way to do it. Ooh,
we're just gonna borrow the shovel, Agina. I hope you don't mind.
And while it is faster to save and quit out of Agina, not if you have to run all the way back to desert. And Garrison definitely would like to see a fire source before too long. So
the second model will be appreciated, though.
Yeah, maybe that will be the thing that leads him into Sick Kid. There's one item out of desert.
Which means that the key is going to be on the torch. One of the two.
It's the small key, which... It's like, big key will be right side. If we find the other item, this becomes a pretty nice play. We've got both items, even if neither of them are any good, and we can just come back here. We know we're getting Mirror and Flute at some point. We can just combo it with Mire when we get those.
Unless one of the two is in the Pyramid Crack.
This is true.
Doesn't everyone love that room of Thieves Town going up a conveyor belt hallway full of spikes?
I certainly do. That's why I play the game, is for that room.
The other item is on Land Molas, which is also good information.
Yeah, absolutely. And front of desert's cleared out. He has the big key. It will disincentivize him from coming back. But I expect that he will grab that bottle and then call it a day here in desert. And this, I imagine, will be the Magic Bat, Sick Kid, Shovel play. Not in that order, if he knows anything about routing, but...
For a moment, I had to question why not that routing. Then I remembered we're coming from the Link's House side of things.
Yeah. Which I think is faster if you were doing those 3 checks specifically. I think this is definitely the faster route. Just 10 arrows on the dig spot. Forgetting what was on the library, it's a good reason to check it right there once you have the boots. Interesting that he's doing Magic Bat first. Might be planning on going back into the Dark World to maybe dip Skullwoods, is the only reason I can think of.
It makes sense to do it first if you're planning to go back to the Dark World.
Mm-hmm.
Especially where Skullwoods currently, I believe, is the progression outside of doing a mirrorless, fluteless Smith chain. And Professor Renderer making a Burna fight with the thief himself, blind.
It does have to be noted that the mountain is not in logic yet. We do not have a lamp or flute to get us there logically. I don't suspect it'll stop either of our runners. Garrison in particular at this point, having already done Thieves Town, might be more incentivized to head to the mountain, having done a couple more checks already, but
and it looks like he might be going that direction too.
Yeah. I expect to see him check at least Bonk Rocks, maybe not King's Tomb, just since that's a little bit out of the way.
Especially where, even with the mitts, if you find the mirror, it routes into Graveyard Ledge really nicely.
Mm-hmm. And Professor Renderer is probably going to... Yeah, probably going to make that same desert play. It's a slower trip to desert, since you have to walk with the purple chest, but if you're going down that way, that check will pay dividends. Or like having that check with you and having the smiths out of the way already is very nice. And I do have to say that I really do like sequence breaking the mountain with this set of items. You have hookshot, hammer.
You can get everything off the mountain except for the spectacle rock item and the floating island item.
Mm-hmm. And you can see what they are all the same.
Though it does make for a very exciting thing to watch as we go through the cave. Though I will admit, I'm impressed at his ability to do a Starkroom with no guide.
Yeah, he picked up the Samaria block, and what I find a little more... Ooh, mushroom. Got ourselves a fetch quest.
There's plenty of those in this game.
Yeah, we've gotten basically all the fetch quests already.
With the exception of Bumper Ledge.
Yeah, Cake for Bumper Ledge would be the old one. Yeah, so Orange Kupo in chat saying that dropping a bomb and judging where you are by the movement as you go is maybe a slightly more reliable way than picking it up. Though, once you have the old man, carrying something does make you move faster. So on that second screen, if you know where you're going, that's a pretty solid way to do it.
Just a piece of heart in the Spec Rock Cave. And 10 arrows on Spec Rock itself.
And from Professor Renderer and Shareen's point of view, I like this play a little more than I did from Garrison. They've done a little more, they've done a few more checks. And so they have more reason to think that there might be a fire source here. Like lamp might be here because they've got so much stuff for the mountain, so much stuff for desert. What if lamp is your logical access? And it may well be, but we know it's not in the front of the desert.
I believe at this point, logically, from what we've seen on both runners, that progress has to be in the Eastern Dark World, possibly in the Palace of Darkness.
Mm-hmm. We have not seen a check of Sahasrala's closet or...
That's
Eastern,
right, we haven't seen any
runner.
of the Eastern region of Hyrule, have we?
Which surprises me. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, no dip of Sahasrala from either runner for this point is a little surprising to me.
And a nicely lined up bomb jump from Garrison to get across the pit and avoid having to go through Tektite Valley.
Garrison, I think, was thinking of dropping down Spiral Cave and going to the Dark World, thinking better of it without the mirror, is going to check out at least Ether Tablet to see what it is, and probably the first 2 chests of Hera. Might clear it since he's here, but...
If the big key is not in the basement, it would be a move I would make to clear the tower. Just some couch cash on the Ether Tablet today, so only a big 20 today.
Yeah, if there's one item and the small key, I would be okay with a Hera pot here. Risk orphaning that item in the big chest. Even though it's a pendant, if your access is hookshot and hammer, if mirror or something is here, but if there's 2 items in upstairs, I would be okay. So I would clear it here, I think. having taken the time to come over here. And we see Garrison setting up a hook speed Harapot. It's a little bit more of a...
But he gets it. Speaking of Eastern Hyrule, ProfessorRenderer is going to Sasral's Closet. And there's another medallion.
We get the small key and a piece of heart on the 4th floor of Tower of Hera.
And we know one of the dungeon items is in the basement, I believe.
Oh, yes.
In the basement cage.
Basement cage.
So there's a 50-50. The basement still has an item. But getting to their home is not a pleasant experience.
No.
I like this magic boomerang navigation through, I think that's Old Man Cave.
Yep. They are making the mountain play. I assume they're saying that, the logical mountain access either has to be in Potter Eastern or Pyramid or Catfish. And none of those places are worth going to, if
the
you
other
can't
item is in the basement.
them.
So there's one item fire blocked in Tower of Hera.
And I'd be hard-pressed to go back in for that item, even if I did have a fire source right now. Hera was a long-time investment, and it didn't really pay out.
50 rupees on the floating island, so not much to worry about there. ProfessorRenderer is doing Spike Cave with a fairy and a blue potion. And a cane of Burnham.
Yeah, it is in logic with that cane. So it makes a lot of sense to knock it out. So it appears that they're opting to skip Tower of Hera because 2 whole trips over to this side. I expect Garrison skipped it because you can get there for free from Dark Death Mountain. But I don't think we'll see Renderer
Garrison
and
does not have the cane of Burna.
But he does have 2 bottles, one with a fairy and one with a blue potion.
Which would make it accessible.
Yeah, it's certainly possible to do. He
It's
could
not
opt to
ideal.
skip it. No, not in the least.
And does miss the hookshot clip. That is not an easy hookshot clip to land.
Well, it's an easy hookshot clip to miss. Is more. It's when you hit it, it's easy, and when you miss it, it's also pretty easy. Easy come, easy go.
And now we get to see what the Super Bunny Cave has. That's our flute.
So, yeah.
And our first sword.
Paying off
in spades.
with the knowledge that the lamp is just somewhere in the Eastern Hyrule region. If they want it, they might run across it. If they don't see it by the time they've done Pyramid, Pod, and Eastern, they know it's on Catfish, and if they really want it, they can go get it.
And that just depends on how comfortable the runner is with dark rooms.
Certainly.
And there are some mean ones required today. Minor basement play. I will admit that was probably the most disappointing hookshot cave I have seen in a while.
Yeah, it was certainly nothing to write home about. We're going to get a look at the Turtle Rock medallion here. Ether.
And it is Ether, which we know would be in Saucerell's closet.
Yeah, I don't see that getting skipped for any length of time.
Not where they know that progression is over there to begin with.
Right. So I expect that we'll see Garrison activate the flute and probably hit up Meyer Shed and see what that medallion is. Meyer could technically be full clearable right now. Though with Fighter's Sword, no bow, it would certainly not be a pleasant fight.
That is the worst Vitreous image you have given me in a while. So, that is a nightmarish Vitreous fight if that's what they go for.
Yeah, Garrison has still not grabbed Ether, but that does make sense. He's put off the eastern area this long and has new things to check. Okay, it's Bombos for Meyer. So there are no more medallions that we need to find. Okay, nothing in Meyer Shed. So just the knowledge. And so I imagine... Where would you go next at this point? In Garrison's shoes? Because Renderer's route is pretty clear, like what's going to happen next.
Pretty much just followed in Garrison's footsteps for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying the mushroom, which I like this decision here.
Yep. Was the mushroom was on the mountain? Where was it?
The old man.
Oh,
the old man
right.
gave you his mushroom.
Garrison gonna clean up Ice Rod Cave, waiting till he has the flute. That's very good value on that early skip. Even if you come back for it, this is a faster check than when Renderer did it and had to run from Mini Moldorm.
It could be still could have been worse. They could have had to walk from Mini Moldorm.
Yeah, the only way waiting on flute for Ice Rod Cave can really bite you is if flute is in Ice Rod Cave, which can happen.
I've had it. And another good Harapot on Professor Renderer's side.
Interesting choice, going to Ice Rod Cave with 1,500 rupees, 1,300. And I might have set up a water walk there and gone for broke. Just since it's, you've held off. If you get a bow in the flipper checks and your flippers are in the pod eastern area, like, that's stupid progression and you could avoid it. I do like checking Saha's closet here before going to Eastern, and that's probably why he didn't do it, because he knew there were 3 free in-logic checks right here. Unfortunately, they're all... Oh, except Ether.
Yeah.
Just
Ether
useless.
was in Saha's closet, and it's kind of required to see it.
Professor Renderer having Ether, 2 medallions, I wonder if we might see a dip for the first chest of Turtle Rock to see how far we can get.
It's possible, but I wouldn't say it's likely. Just because I don't see that kind of check in most race situations.
It's a very aggressive check, but at this point, I feel like both runners have to feel all right about their routing. they've crossed all the in-logic stuff that's convenient out. All that's
Early big
really
key is
left.
a nice find in this dungeon, because it means it's more likely to have 3 items in the next 3 checks. Anything to not have to go through the long back door is a nice thing. And our restreamer, Jere Dudecia, is going to be switching the audio after Eastern Palace so we can listen to ProfessorRenderer's custom Sonic Roboblast 2 MSU. So once Garrison's done in his Eastern, we'll be having our audio switched.
And Orange Kupo said a couple minutes ago that dipping pod at this point seems like a very good idea, and I would agree. I think it's easy to think Eastern because you're checking Saha's Closet over pod, but pod you can get every check but Helmasaur, and you're probably going to do them all anyway between the search for the big key and the 5 items there. Eastern is a much more punishing double dip than pod is, and I can see the thinking. You're in the light world, you check Saha's Closet. Eastern is closer now, but you're just a flute away at any point. So yeah, I think I would have liked the pod play a little more, but they're down to so few checks that you can hardly fault them for whatever they choose to do.
And ProfessorRenderer finds the Ether Medallion at Turtle Rock. We'll have to see if they make any decision around Turtle Rock, or if they just go back down the mountain.
Well, it is an item in the vanilla big key chest of Eastern, but not one that they were terribly happy to see.
We are probably going to see that pod dive now.
Yeah, with a bottle, 2 bottles, Garrison has a couple different ways of
and keep in mind,
unlocking that
potion.
He
does have a potion in one of those.
Yeah, he can do it with the fairy in his other one as well, though that's a little more. It's a little more finicky of a skill.
Just got to get the pterodactyl off his face first.
The key to the potion glitch in pod, or the camera unlock, is to consume the contents of a bottle while you are moving left. And for a potion, that's just do it while you're walking left. And for a fairy, you need to walk right into an enemy that kills you and have the knockback push you left.
That is one of the most finicky sounding ways to activate that I've heard in my life.
Yeah, it's mostly used when you're in pretty much this situation where you only have a fairy in a bottle, or you don't want to waste a blue potion just to unlock pod if you can help it. So we'll see if Garrison knows that one. And pod is not bow locked, which we highly suspected that it would not be. Not hard bow locked, at least. Renderer also opting not to dive Misery Mire, which could be the answer for all I know. But
I won't say I don't disagree with him at this point.
Yeah, no, this is the numbers play, and I assume we'll see. Oh, we're seeing the fake flipper play. Probably hoping for a bow before heading to the pod eastern area. I like this. This is not a terrible play.
ProfessorRenderer tried it earlier, but got hit on the fake flipper and ended up stuck. Only 20 rupees on the Lake Hylia Island, and there's our Master Sword in the basement. There is our logical first sword. Actually, no, it's not logical yet. Actually, no, that one's logical.
Yep, that's logical.
My brain likes to say the basement is the same key logic as the big key chest.
No, that one only requires one key to be in logic. And there's a bow.
Our bow
and
blocked by flippers.
Yeah, I really would have liked to see the fake flipper water walk play from Garrison.
And the camera unlock glitch to get through bow blocked pod.
So if our other logic, or our second logical bow is somewhere in pod, or flippers are somewhere, he'll be steered into that before too long. But yeah, that's definitely a big advantage.
There's our lineup.
Oh, we had King Zora. Yep, that was.
That's a lovely place for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
The real question is, why are the red hardhat beetles some of the most durable enemies in this game?
That I cannot tell you.
That is the worst feeling when you get knocked off there.
And so, unfortunately, Garrison is not going to find a bow here. Most likely. It's possible, but... So this is looking like a big time sink. We'll probably find flippers, I imagine, or something else, but that bow is...
I believe he's hoping to find flippers here to route Zora in with Catfish.
Mirror. I would...
Speaking of flippers. So there's our logic to get the bow.
Logic is fully restored now. We know what our logical mountain access is, and we know where our logical bow access is. Bow was in
Waterfall Ferry.
Waterfall Ferry, yeah.
The answer is logical shenanigans are going are afoot.
Yeah. I really, really would have liked to see that Ice Rod Cave into Fake Flipper's play, because with as few checks as Garrison had left, and 2 swords in pod.
Pod is paying off in its own way.
Yeah, but with as few checks as you have left, you're starting to suspect that the logic is just stupid. And if you can get around that logical stupidity, so ProfessorRenderer orphaned Catfish in exchange for single dipping pod in Eastern, which I think is a pretty good deal.
Excellent darkroom navigation in this maze, though. Unfortunately, it did not pay out.
So we'll see Garrison cleaning up shortly behind, probably doing those flipper checks.
Yeah, we're getting a fake flipper setup here.
Well,
actually, no, we're getting a real flipper check setup here. I've been known to fake flip it out with real flippers before.
Yeah, it's all too easy to forget when you have real flippers. I've done also the check of Lake Hylia Island, expecting to get put back up on the ledge and have to sheepishly climb out of the water because I forgot that I got flippers early. And so Renderer is going to take a slight lead. Garrison does have all of Pod cleared out.
All Garrison's do in
Eastern
both of these dungeons if he needs to clear them. And Green Pendant Pod is probably one of the better Green Pendant dungeons to get.
Mm-hmm. And those flippers are required. I do expect that unless something good is on Armos, though it does seem likely that something good will be on Armos.
I'd like to point something out to you, Vortex. With that lamp on Zora, Pyramid Fairy's in play.
This is true. Yeah, Pyramid Fairy does seem like a pretty solid play.
I'm not sure I'd make it the rush play, but it's unusual for it to be available this early.
Well, so at this point, you know there's an item on Armos, an item on Landmos, and 2 items on the Pyramid Fairy, and you haven't checked Ledge or Catfish. So that's 6 items that you know where they are, and they can keep you out of pendant dungeons. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Professor Renderer maybe do Desert next, and then Pyramid Fairy without that knowledge of the flippers in Pod. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Ice Palace is also in logical play. We have the Cane of Samaria, Hookshot, Bombos, Hammer, Flippers. Everything we could need could be in Pendant Ice. And Garrison is making the play to Misery Mire.
It makes a little more sense now with a Tempered Sword, because
and
the lamp. Because now Mire is full clearable. And Mire is a very isolated check without Demir.
Yeah, given that Desert is fully cleared out and you aren't going to gain a whole lot of value from combining Desert and Mire, since you've dipped Desert.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Professor Renderer doing Ice Palace?
I think he is. That's a really interesting play.
Oh, he's refilling arrows.
Oh, so they have not been to Pendant Pod for those 2 swords. And the arrows, I think, are for a Vitreous fight that will be very long and difficult.
This is true. And it looks like you're correct on that matter.
So Garrison is an Armos behind in clearing and a little bit ahead in Mire, and does have Pod, more or less cleared
and
out.
There's our silvers.
So that free logical bow. So Renderer wasted a little time.
Which means that bow would, and because chat pointed out that the flippers were bow locked by key logic. That means that is our logical first bow right there. But pod key logic determined that the flippers in the back are bow locked.
I think it depends on what's in the vanilla big key chest.
And unfortunately, the torches went out before Garrison could get through the door.
Checking cutscene chest first. If he gets the big key here with silvers and one item already, I expect to see him go straight to Vitreous.
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
It is an odd choice to do this first when your only fire source is the lamp, because it just takes so much longer, and if you don't have to do it, it makes sense to try to avoid it, but if it's the answer, he's saved a lot of time.
If it's the other item, he saved a lot of time, too.
Yep.
And ProfessorRenderer is showing us the other side, and it's just a map in the cutscene chest. Which, actually, the big key is in the key chest just after big chest.
So yeah, that cutscene chest put Garrison behind in Mire, unfortunately. Unless ProfessorRenderer decides to look for the other item. If the other item's on Vidi and ProfessorRenderer decides to check cutscene chest first, that would change things, but strange that Garrison chose to go up this way. You can't get the big chest, but... And we have synced up. Garrison smartly knowing that he has to go 2 screens away before the floor will respawn in this room.
I love super tiles.
And there's our second item. Half magic and silvers.
What a
neither
Mire.
fire locked in Mire. So the early dip would have been pretty heavily rewarded if you were comfortable with Dark Mire. Yeah.
You don't even have to be comfortable with Dark Mire. Because
that's true. You
you
could get both
come
items
back.
and just fail. Yeah. Yeah, Garrison has cleared out pod and gotten the flippers. And will get to do Armos with silvers, which, you know, like the double dip of Eastern is definitely more time than the silvers will make Armos less time, but it isn't something to ignore.
The other big thing that we can't ignore is Garrison has 2 swords and flippers because of the Palace of Darkness, of which the flippers are required for Swamp.
Ped is not dead. I think Fire Rod could certainly be on Ped. Or Mirror.
Both of those could be on Ped.
Yeah. Since we have Bombos, Ice Palace is clearable.
I would rather them not have to do a ped. As a runner, ped seeds are terrible. And both runners taking home victories very shortly within each other's. With the find of the bow and the silvers, and knowing what Garrison has and Renderer doesn't, what is the logical progression in your opinion at this point?
Those flippers led to bow, or that bow led to flippers led to silvers. I'm not. I think both bows were in logic.
Both bows were in logic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, both runners making a solid choice. Renderer, this will be his second 5/6 crystal. This will be Garrison's first, but it'll just be a quick Armos fight. And I think both runners will probably be making the play after this to Pyramid Fairy, Catfish. And then we'll see Garrison head into Ice, and Renderer will probably dip into Pot at that point and then catch up in Ice.
Depending on what items we get out of these checks. If we get Fire Rod, I could
yes.
see a Skullwoods dive, and if we get Mirror, that's a Swamp dive guaranteed.
If we get Fire Rod, I would expect to see Skullwoods and maybe even Turtle Rock in quick succession from Garrison. With Tempered Sword, that's a pretty easy choice, and Turtle Rock is not the most punishing to full clear versus go moding. So if the answer's in Turtle Rock and he's feeling equipped enough to do it, that could be big.
So while our runners walk up to the Landma fight, I'll just take a minute and say, give the runners and Renderer's mentor Shareen follow. They put in a lot of work for this race, this whole tournament.
Yeah, Shareen in particular has been a mentoring monster. I don't believe he's mentored the most out of anyone, but he is constantly mentoring. And in my experience with him, he's been endlessly positive. I haven't had him as a mentor for this tournament, but I have had him as a co-op partner in co-op races, and he's positive and helpful and just a great member of the community.
These Landmos are doing an excellent job dodging silver arrows today. I am impressed at how much...
First Landmo down.
Now, the Ice Rod is a very fantastic weapon for this fight. And Garrison takes on all three with Ice Rod strats, which isn't surprising. For some reason, Ice Rod does the same damage as Fire Rod these things.
It actually does a different amount of damage, but the breakpoint, it's one different in damage, but the breakpoint for Landmos is the same with both, actually.
Close enough. So we should be seeing an Eastern Palace run now.
Yeah, let's see Pyramid Fairy from Renderer. And it's interesting, Garrison has probably overall been less efficient with his check groupings, but if he never goes back to stuff, that won't really matter, because he is heading down the path that Renderer is already, has already ruled out all other possibilities. I don't believe Garrison has done King's Tomb. I don't believe he has done any of Smith's Chain, whereas Professor Renderer is finished with it.
This is correct.
So we're seeing the fateful Pyramid Fairy, Pyramid, and Catfish checks. I assume we'll see Catfish regardless of what we find here, just because it is very thoroughly orphaned at this point if you do not check it right here.
Incredible pain to get to is the only check. Watching bomb moves always in pain. That's the red rupee on the pyramid.
Red shield and 5 rupees. So Catfish or Helmasaur.
Or
did we check? Oh, that's true. Yeah. And Ice Palace, and
there's a lot of places it could be. But from Renderer's perspective, it's Catfish or Dark Palace. And we know it's Dark Palace at this point. Although we don't know what's on Catfish either. But we don't... Pod is a correct answer here.
Neither runner has checked PED. With the book being in Mini Moldorm after they had already done their Kakariko checks and not having Mirror or Fire Rod to even be drawn towards combining Skullwoods, not a very attractive play. So it's looking likely that progression is going to be an Ice Palace. Professor Renderer, I suspect, will finish off Pod. Those flippers were enough to send Garrison looking for that bow, but Professor Renderer will already have the bow and have done all the flipper checks except for Ice Palace, and Ice Palace is not something you really want to do.
It would at least be a quick scene. A quick route, because you can't smart if you have to do it.
Yeah, they will have Icebreaker at their disposal.
We might see a bottle refills here. It's potential, but no. I always like to know if it's going to be free blue potions out of Ocean Fury. I bet that Renderer is happy to find that after an hour and 14 minutes.
No doubt. We'll shortly be finding another one. So Garrison will probably be heading to Ice Palace, if I had to guess. Maybe King's Tomb, and maybe that Smith Chain that he had been successfully avoiding up till now. So it must be said that his Smith Chain will be faster than Renderer's, given that he does have Flute. Yeah, it looks like he's gonna clean up his tracks. I don't like this play. I don't hate it.
It makes sense given how early they were in Logic compared to Ice Palace, because it means they could have something we need. But I would have preferred an Ice Palace play myself.
Yeah.
Because I've been burned one too many times by that Palace.
And I think...
What did I just see?
Was that a clip from...
Can chat please explain what I just saw with Decane of Samaria getting through the raised colored blocks, please?
So what happens is if you place a block on the lower blue pegs, and then you dash up the stairs. I can't remember what the input is that you do, but you'll just extend the stair state and go straight up through those red pegs.
So what you're saying is another example of Decane of Samaria breaking this game.
Yes.
I do like this play where he hadn't done Skullwoods.
Yeah, I mean, but if you've held off on Skullwoods... Okay, he's opting out of the Smith Chain. This, I like. I think he was thinking of doing it, which is why he was walking out of Skullwoods. He's thinking about his next move. We know where the answer is. Well, we don't know for sure, but we're pretty sure.
As a commentary, we've narrowed it down to 2 places. Three places. There is the potential of front part of a TR.
Yes.
That's the worst case scenario, I believe.
But, from the perspective of the runners, it's, it makes a lot more sense to just take that lowered East Death Mountain portal and ignore it. You don't feel that it's likely that your opponent took the dip of Turtle Rock. So if you last location something there, it's not gonna feel like the end of the world. And ProfessorRenderer is making the play to finish Helmasaur.
He's this far in, I don't blame him.
Yeah, and finding only flippers, which unlocks Ice Palace, and then
everything you've just done.
Yeah. It's understandable that he wants to find something else.
It's also the green pendant.
Yeah, so there
is one more item coming out of this.
Yeah. Garrison having a little trouble with the icebreaker.
I will fully admit to still having the menu buffer icebreaker.
And he finally gets it. Nicely done. And today, Helmet has... And...
The magic mirror was nice, Palace.
Ooh. That is extremely aggressive. I kind of like it.
Mirroring out as soon as you got it?
Yeah.
I'm a fan. Provided he takes this directly to Swamp Palace. Which I believe he will here.
Yeah, that was an extremely aggressive play to just bail out with the mirror. Kaysen said in chat likes it. I like it as well.
And now Garrison hopes nothing else is in there. There's all three of our swords are blocked by pod.
Wow. Well, I don't think it's terribly likely that Garrison goes back and gets that. The rest of the items in Ice Palace are much more accessible than going to Helmasaur, which is not super long, but it's probably one of the longest single checks you can do if you're going for it.
A good third of that being getting into pod itself. That many of those takes forever to get through.
Renderer cleaning up that hobo check that was skipped earlier.
I do believe that the only way Garrison gets that butter sword now is if Fire Rod's on ped.
And yeah, Penguin in chat said you're don't even think he gets it then. If Fire Rod's on ped, you know, you kill Helma and rush ped.
Yeah.
Because Garrison's not looking for anything at all other than Fire Rod at this point.
Professor Renderer is making the pedestal check.
Interesting play. Not having mirror. This is very not efficient.
Dive Ice Palace for the whole thing.
Okay.
So Fire Rod is not on ped.
So I imagine that with the knowledge that Fire Rod is not on ped, we will see Professor Renderer make the same skip out of ice after getting the mirror.
I might have checked the spike room check myself as an addition.
Yeah, but if you have to go back in, I don't know, like that check is as free the second time as it is the first time. I don't know.
That's the only thing I might have done differently. And Garrison's gambling on left side here.
Yeah, one item from Go Mode. I used to be a firm proponent of just suck it up and do left side swamp. But one item from Go Mode, the back 4 checks are much quicker than the left 2. I would never, if I don't get it in back, not go straight back in and grab the items on left side. Just because draining and portaling to the Dark World and mirroring and everything, it takes so long that if you have to come back for it, it has to be your last location. Because it's gambling a 40-second time loss for a 2-minute time save, which, you know, like that return is pretty solid in my opinion. ProfessorRenderer with a very nice icebreaker, getting it much more quickly. At the moment of truth, when he finds his mirror.
And Garrison brings down Argus for the mirror shield. And he's going to continue a little bit in Ice Palace.
Yeah, if the Fire Rod is here, that's a huge play, and if it's not, this is definitely putting him farther behind. I expect we'll see Bombos Tablet and Cave 45 next, and then Garrison will probably be doing the Smith Chain if he doesn't find it there.
Which is now even easier because he has a mirror.
Yep. So just putting it off that long is going to save him a substantial amount of time. Just a red rupee on Bombos Tablet. And Garrison did not go back in for Left Side Swamp.
No, he did not.
That... Gosh, I don't know how Yeah, I don't know. Neither runner has dipped the front of Turtle Rock.
And Garrison has not dipped the rest of Ice Palace.
So yeah, it's...
Garrison taking a few gambles here.
There's our second item in Ice Palace.
And the last one is not on Cold Stare. Cold Stare's gonna be an easy fight for Renderer though. Butter Sword.
I feel like the gamble on Garrison's part is a little risky because Left Side Swamp is that is a last location gamble. And he has made a few other such gambles with Helmasaur and the rest of Ice Palace.
And Smith Chain.
Yeah, I think Garrison stocking up on potions is probably planning on finishing off Smith Chain and then running to Turtle Rock. I think we are getting... Oh, okay, so mirror checks.
He's checking his graveyard ledge first. And ProfessorRenderer enters the Cold Stare fight. And a very cleanly fought battle. Stare.
Okay, and 3 items. Ice Palace was not the answer for the Fire Rod.
I believe that narrows us down to Turtle Rock.
And Left Side Swamp. That
and
is...
left.
And... So So Renderer is going to do swamp. We'll see if he does left side.
I'll take a minute while our runners are crossing those tracks for a minute to point out that the music continues to be fantastic here.
Yeah, these are.
This Sonic MSU was pretty good. Sonic Robo.
Yeah, I agree. Both MSUs we've heard today, for anyone coming in later, were created by the runners. The one we're hearing now, I believe, is ProfessorRenderer's, and we had Garrison's earlier. So. So if the answer is Turtle Rock, I expect Garrison will get there first. If the answer is Left Side Swamp, I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion that ProfessorRenderer will probably get it first, because ProfessorRenderer has been much, much more thorough and does not have a bunch of checks left like Garrison did when he left Left Side Swamp.
Garrison taking the purple chest with him to Cave 45. I do think my favorite part of the seed has been the 3 swords in the pod region.
Yep. That definitely a highlight. So Garrison flutes away to what I can only assume will be Turtle Rock.
But first, Dead Rock. That Dead Rock likes to be rude.
It's always interesting being in this situation on comms, where, you know, a lot of times this late in the game, the people watching know whether something is the answer before it's, you know, before it's confirmed on stream. But this time, like, Garrison has skipped Left Side Swamp. Renderer, we'll have to see if he's doing the same. Definitely going back first. I think it is the correct play.
I do appreciate back first. It does. That is the correct play, in my opinion.
But not going back in, one item from Go mode, you know, I think it's almost...
Especially when an item could
that
very easily be required for this dungeon that Garrison's going into right now.
Right. And I think we'll find out, we could find out relatively quickly if the answer is Left Side Swamp. If we find an item in this first chest, or a non-small key, we know where the fire rod is.
Because either it will be into Left Side Swamp, or we will have picked up a fire rod. So this is kind of the moment of truth for a moment. Convenient fairy drop from that jellyfish. That is a small key. We can continue the dungeon.
Fire Rod could be Hera Basement. That is true.
I forgot about Hera Basement.
Forgetting that he does not have the Fire Rod required to check this. Loses a little time, but... So if Fire Rod is in Hera Basement,
now we see
which runner do you think would go there first?
Garrison. He's already up here on the mountain.
So moment of truth for Renderer.
It is not in. We are Fire Rod blocked.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Okay. Well. So.
But like I said, Garrison will go there first because he's already on the summit.
Okay, so moment of truth here.
And this could easily decide the race.
Yeah, this play will decide the race. One runner doing one check as the other does the other. It's moderately poetic.
I won't say it would end the race, but would be a very rough finish if it would take a lot of mistakes from the other runner who finds it.
Yeah, I think, like, ProfessorRenderer, like, his next stop will be Hera Basement after dipping TR, presumably. Garrison still has Helma and the rest of Ice Palace. Before he will be forced into Left Side Swamp. And I have to imagine he does those first. Yeah, I think if you're... Kaysden made a good point earlier that, like, if you're gambling that mirror is your progression, you do all the mirror checks you can if you're bailing out of Ice Palace. I think picking up... Yeah. And it is in Left Side Swamp.
Unless, of course, we've missed something.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Garrison has not done Spike Cave.
But Renderer has done Spike Cave.
And I think there comes a point when you gamble, like, you don't continue gambling, cutting every corner you can. When you've made aggressive skips, like Helma wasn't a particularly aggressive skip, given that he didn't have the bow to complete it.
There's
the fire. Garrison is going. Oh, Garrison, no. No. Start off with a key.
And he should know it's a key because he's not used it. He still has a key, or he's at 0 keys.
And he's not even checking his menu. This is the point where you can see how being mentorless can, it can mess with you.
It's the biggest risk here.
Yeah.
But it's also, you can watch back at what we've done, what he's done, and see where he can learn from it.
And we'll see what the next play is. Yep, Helmasaur is his next play. So this is... Yeah. Yeah, because what I was saying was it's not like Garrison is bitten by the one gamble he made. He was making gamble after gamble, and one of them bit him, and it's the hardest one.
And now they're all biting him.
Yeah, and
because left side swamp is the one that bit him, they're all gonna bite him in quick succession. Except for Smith Chain. He picked that up before he found out.
Yep. Though, not having done it is why he skipped left side swamp, in my opinion. Because if he had done Smith Chain already, he would have known how few checks were left and how much he'd gambled, like on leaving ice. Like you have to assume swamp is the answer at that point. But yeah, that one hyper-aggressive skip looks like it's probably going to cost Garrison the race. Yeah, and Espion in chat pointing out that skipping left side swamp has lost more races than it has won. Like committing to skipping it it's extremely dangerous, and I have been bitten by skipping left side swamp. I guess I probably have lost a race by less than 2 minutes in a race that I did left side swamp, but there's always something else I can point to that time could have been saved.
Okay, so now we can see what's in the rest of Turtle Rock. And by the rest, I mean the checks you check on the way to get your keys.
And the funny thing is that I'm not actually sure that, because without they found the big key in swamp, right? So they got to check that early, so it won't be on left side. You don't have to walk there and back. So it's not the full time loss that it would be normally, like a left side swamp play. So you get to just nope out when you get the item on left side swamp. Given that, I think it might have actually been a faster play than Helmasaur. Now, Helma is 2 items to the 1 in left side swamp, so this does still make sense. But left side swamp feels so bad to go back to because it is a whole process to get there. And I think that is why it can bite so hard.
And yes, it does make more sense to go back first. The problem is skipping left side entirely.
And here's the Ice Palace play. Yeah, it's rough to see a race go like this. Like Ice Palace, where he skipped it, was not a hyper costly double dip. If it had been the answer. Swamp Palace is a double dip. He was forced to leave Helma the Swamp Palace one is the one that really feels the costliest if you're wrong. And Garrison, I feel, didn't have a reason to think so many corners had to be cut. Things were going on pretty smoothly. The pod dip was, like, unfortunate to do without the bow and the eastern dip, but you got the flippers out of it, which you did need. Made the gamble for mirror, and if that's right, you head to swamp and you clear it out. You do all your mirror checks, and then you think about the double dips.
And yes, as chat points out, this Cold Stare fight's going to be pretty quick since Butter Sword. It's been a while since I've seen somebody bomb through the left side hole to get to the big chest. I'll admit.
Yeah, that hookshot clip is a little faster and definitely more swag. And ProfessorRenderer gets the key for the door on the first check in Laser Bridge, which means we're going to shortly see a fight with everyone's favorite boss, Trinix. Clean fight with the elemental heads. And at this point, since we're in TR as our final crystal, I am going to begin the spiel now. There are 22 checks in the basement of Ganon's tower. One of them has our all-important Ganon's Tower big key. Please put your guesses in chat after one of our leads in chat starts the GT Big Key guessing game, and we will close it once ProfessorRenderer enters Ganon's Tower. So, Gare, Vortex, where do you think Big Key's going to be? I said 5. It depends entirely on the routing.
That's one of the 4 check rooms, no matter what route you take. So. I usually guess 13 because it almost always ends up in Rando room on the standard route. Here's the checking pad. It is not in the first 2 checks of Gan's Tower.
And Garrison gets his 20 rupees off Ped. And it's interesting because both runners have essentially full cleared. ProfessorRenderer skipped Cold Stare, but other than that has done everything.
Cold Stare.
Oh, did not. Oh yeah, because Cold Stare did have an item. Yeah, that's correct. So both runners have full cleared the game, but ProfessorRenderer just was down to few enough checks that skipping left side just didn't seem worth it at all. And it cost Garrison, most notably, Graveyard Ledge.
Amount of time.
Graveyard Ledge, and then the double dips of Ice and Pod. Renderer did do Cave 45 and Bombos, if I recall, but not Graveyard Ledge.
I still love that boomerang strat for that room. Coming up is check number 9.
Garrison forgetting that you can't do Diver Down if you skip left side swamp. That's the biggest part of the time loss if you have to come back in. That and the walk from the front, I guess.
ProfessorRenderer is entering Rando room, named such because only people playing randomizers will go in this room. Hello, Bob.
Goodbye, Bob.
And the Ice Armos. It's proven to want to be a late big key. Garrison is not happy about that one. Number 17. Number 17 is our winner. So congratulations to Grey Corvin for winning the GT Big Key guessing games. It was number 17, and you scored your 16 points. WGarrison en route to fight Mothula as ProfessorRenderer is preparing to enter the gauntlet.
A very swag strat from Renderer, falling off and using the iframes to dash across that bridge.
It's a fun strat.
Answer a question in chat. Renderer's sprite is, yeah, Hat Kid from A Hat in Time. We got it.
Neither Land Mola fight has treated either of our runners very well this run. Unfortunately, falling off while lighting torches does mean you usually have to start over torches, so you have to wait the whole cycle again.
Professor Renderer with Silver's red mail. There's nothing he wants from the top of GT. Except a refill from these anti-fairy and Buddy Bean.
And of course, this sword cuts through Bullworm like a hot knife through butter. Does check validation chest for the laughs.
Yeah, that's a move I am quite fond of as well.
I prefer I prefer a different approach. I prefer bombing the validation chest, so.
Figure opening it is probably less time than a menu. I'm slow menuing. I guess it'd be two menus because I usually menu back to shop.
Not the nicest Agaton pattern.
Professor Renderer making the most of it though, getting a nice double there. And I think, yeah, one more double.
Wow. I only saw one hit from it, so. And ProfessorRenderer entering Dan fight about 1:30. And entering phase 2 very quickly. And ProfessorRenderer entering stage 4. Does not get the torch touch. Tried a little harder to get another hit in first.
One hit?
Only one hit to go. And Eugene's in chat ready for ProfessorRenderer and Shareen. Winning this race. And I don't know who, if I'm not in the race, but could somebody get me the, I believe Jere would have to get it, but the official race time finish time? On stream finishing at 2:01:41.
.201:40 is the official race racetime.gg time, and Garrison has forfeited from the race.
I don't blame him. So we'll see about getting all of our runners in. We'll see about getting all of our runners into the green room and into the interview when possible.
We are joined by ProfessorRenderer. GG.
GG.
What a scene, Professor.
Yeah, what a scene that was, man. What I thought we were behind for most of the time. Shareen actually had the dip, so I'm like, what am I gonna do about Swamp after this? So I asked him, I was like, wait, he's not there? Well, I might as well go in. Yep, bailed out. Got bailed out.
Yeah, that you actually were behind for a large portion of the race. Garrison made the call to dip early on Ice Palace, went to pod without the bow, and got the flippers before that bow in Waterfall Ferry. So didn't have Helmasaur done, and yeah, so had a commanding lead going into Swamp Palace, but did not go back in for left side.
Yeah, that's what I was what me and Shareen were thinking. He may have dipped pod without a bow or something, which is kind of which was kind of fair. But then what was worrying some was the fact that the mirror showed up where it was in ice, and that's where we kind of felt, well, we were behind. And I had to make this play that said, well, if I'm gonna be without Shareen, I may as well end it strong somehow. So, I said to myself as I was climbing the tower, I don't care if it's my last race or my second to last race. I'm still gonna go out I will still go out strong. I don't care. Even if my opponents decide to finish before me, I will still finish the seed out.
And sorry to interrupt, Professor, but we have been joined in the call by WGarrison. GG.
GG, man. Oh, that was something. If he's there, at least.
I am no longer muted. Sorry about that. GG, Professor.
Rejoice!
Well played.
GG. Oh. Whew. The funny thing about it too is that Shareen left afterwards. So I was going mentorless near the end. Oh, I see Shareen right now.
I have
in the green room.
One question. Only one question.
Yeah.
Did you do left side swamp when you were in there?
I did it after I did Argus.
Yeah.
I
that was the
last
story of the
location
race.
fire rod.
I did too.
I think the story of the race is that ProfessorRenderer was much more thorough early on. Did the mirrorless, fluteless Smith chain, and Garrison, you cut a lot of corners, but it gave you a pretty sizable lead. And going into Swamp, basically the question on everyone's mind afterwards was, why did you not go back in for left side Swamp, one item from Go Mode?
Shareen just said just to leave it out.
It's one of those things. So there was only one item left in there. I just got mirror, or I'm sorry, I got mirror recently and hadn't done any of the other checks. I felt like there were still a lot of places that I could go. Things like Smith Chain. It could have been in Turtle Rock. Like, I had so much still to do that one item in Left Side Swamp just didn't feel like it was going to be worthwhile. But apparently it was.
And final interruption in the middle, but Shareen has also joined us here in the interview room. GG to you and the Professor, Shareen.
Yeah, GG. That was
man.
some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, early on, we decided together to kind of just be like a super thorough, not make any skips. I think a big thing that changed our mood was the taking the damage during that water walk, because it ended up costing us a lamp and a bow, which made us orphan a really nasty Hera basement, and also desert, so we kind of felt really bad about that. I heard you guys talking about the mirrorless smiths, we got the early mitts, figured it's a good opportunity, pick up the smith, do the pegs, come back, knock out purple chest into desert, very smooth early route, not really any orphans.
It did work out very well for you guys with being able to. You got those early mitts and got to route in King's Tomb and Bonkbox with the Smith turn in, and so you lost a minimal amount of time on a lot of those.
Yeah, when we went to Pod and we got the flippers, I was actually pretty excited because I told Renderer, I'm like, this is a good opportunity for you to do Green Pendant, because you're gonna get 2 items, one from the Green Pendant, one from Helmosaur. Pedestals in play, which is a 3rd potential item, and the only thing you haven't done outside of Pod is the front of TR and Hera Basement, and then the now open Ice Palace, basically. So it's like if you go to Pod early, it's very likely you'll end up skipping Green Pendant. Even if, like, let's say you do have it, you still might skip it. So when that all turned up nothing and the pedestal was nothing, and we got the mirror, it's like, you don't have that much left. Like, I can understand potentially bailing at the mirror, but we were thinking about bailing at the mirror, but the fact that we committed to checking the ped, we felt like full clearing ice, and at that point, I disconnected from Renderer, but at that point, like, for us, we full cleared everything. There's no reason to make any more skips at that point. You have K45, you have Graveyard Ledge, you have Checkerboard. Hera Basement's a lost cause. Yep. So, there's no
It's-
real
it's-
decision. You know, it's just kind
Speaking
of
of
an
Hera
unfortunate
basement, it's funny because Garrison had bailed, done all the rest of the overworld checks, and only had the rest of Ice Palace that he bailed on and Helmasaur when he did Hera basement, and you guys were going back in, or Renderer, I guess, was going back in for Left Side Swamp. So it was kind of a fun moment on the restream that we were, because we knew from what both of you had done that those were the only two options, that it was Left Side Swamp or Hera basement, and whichever it was would have completely decided the race, pretty decisively, as it did.
Yeah. And it was just that chance where it's like, I was wondering where Shareen was, and then I was like, well, if Shareen was telling me to go back to Hera basement or something, I may as well, or since I'm already in the area, I know there's one item left in Left Side Swamp or something. I said, well, I may as well just go for it. Just take a chance shot, and I got
in your
out.
position, having cleared out the entire world, all you had was mirror checks after that. There's no way I'd ever skip the one item in Left Side Swamp when I'm there. Garrison, like he mentioned, did have a lot more left to do, had not done Smiths yet, held off until Mitsamir, made it a lot faster, but I think was incentivized to, maybe make that skip a little more strongly. Though that's the risk with Left Side Swamp. If you skip it when you're first there, it's going to be last location. Whereas if you go right back in and it's not the answer, then you have your choice of where to go next and can potentially make the right choice. But the choice is kind of made for you when you skip it.
Yeah, and when you're one item per go mode, that's kind of like the route you want to take. You want to do the back, try to shave off as much time as you can. And yeah, Renderer?
Yeah. It was those kind of checks where it's like Left Side Swamp, Hera basement, Catfish. So those kind of like really out of the way checks, those really nasty spots for progression to show up. Those often get last location from my experiences watching, playing, commentating, randomizer, and it hurts. If you last location, it hurts. It's just you have to make the right call. If you're in that situation, you gotta like just take a stab at it and hope you get bailed out. And if you don't get bailed out, then for all intents and purposes, the race is lost. It's just Rando's gonna Rando most of the time.
That it is. Rando is going to Rando. And when it does, it
hurts.
Can hurt a lot.
Yup.
As Garrison just learned.
This was tough to watch. Just that because it wasn't, you didn't just make one gamble, you made a lot, and all but one paid off pretty big. Like Smith's would have been pretty easy. Yeah.
Well,
but...
and then the gamble that I cleaned up last was the one. that was
right.
Even the kicker there.
Well, due to the time and effort it takes to get to that one, as soon as we saw that it was in a gamble that didn't pay off, we knew that the other gambles were going to fold it on themselves.
Right. Yeah. Yep. We knew it was going to be Helma, because that wasn't a gamble. You did make the early play into pod without Bo, and had the flippers, not a lot earlier, but definitely earlier. They fake flippered. I was actually going to ask, did you think, so you skipped Ice Rod Cave and went straight to Desert. When you went back to Ice Rod Cave, did you think of doing a water walk and doing those flipper checks right then?
I thought about it. And I definitely thought about it. I realized that with Desert not paying, I'm trying to think through it. It was like a weird thing where I had already sequenced Broken Mountain and went into the Dark Death Mountain and picked up Flute up there. That's what happened. I picked up Flute up there, and I knew Lamp was like in Logic somewhere, which it could very well have been on Zora, which is exactly where it was. But I figured, you know what, Lamp is probably going to be in like Pod, so let me do Pod. There's going to be something in there. Let me check, and there was Flippers, which did get me to Lamp. But the reason why I didn't water walk was because I wanted a fire source so bad at that point.
Yeah, I from our perspective, I think I said something about like at that point, you knew the logic was going to be stupid. Like you didn't have a bow, you didn't have a fire source, you didn't have anything. So I was just wondering if there was any thought in your head, and I think I assume why Renderer and Shareen made the play to fake Flipper before doing that, because I'm sure you guys knew the lamp had to be there too, right? Or
Right.
somewhere in there.
We didn't go to the mountain, but I was talking with Renderer about just the general comfort of going into the Dark World, and we just figured, like, part of us was thinking, let's go to Hype Cave right away, try to start pressing the higher spheres. You know, that's one option. Try to do the higher spheres, get something to make the lower spheres quicker. You know, Renderer didn't want to make that play, and then once we got the boots, it's like, okay, we got the money to do Zora, so let's try to sequence break something. And, you know, when that didn't pay off, you know, we ended up following through, but, you know, we did an early front of escape. We decided to just take it sphere by sphere, you know, not skip something in the front of escape kind of race. And for the most part, it worked out. I mean, both Renderer and Garrison, like, you know, and I've been seeing this on all the matches, like crazy. This is just like a 2-hour time, and like almost all 10 dungeons basically. And
I mean, I pulled Ped.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh no!
Like 10 dungeons, and it's like a 2-hour seed. Like, you know, so all around it's been, you know, pretty competitive runs. You know, you hate to throw it away to like skipping something in an early sphere.
Yeah, it's true. And I hope you guys really. Oh, go ahead.
Like Shareen was saying, we've watched the runners just improve drastically over the course of this tournament. The amount of time and effort that you and the other runners have put in is incredible. And the improvement shows.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that this tournament has just gotten like a lot, made me a lot better. When the original one was maybe someone will get me used to completing the seed. Now this is the tournament where I want to bring my game to the next level. And not to bring attention to myself, but I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that bop on with the MSU pack selection I did. It was
your MSU got the spotlight for about the last half of the race. So
right. I mean, I know that. If you got for that last half, I really hope you guys really enjoyed it, because it was something I put together as a passion project for one of my favorite Sonic fan games of all time.
Yeah, I think all of chat and both Zeke and I definitely enjoyed both MSUs a lot. I know I've heard Garrison's a lot.
I'll admit I enjoyed Garrison's more, but that's because Etrinasi is one of my absolute favorite video game series of all time. So
totally fair. I'm not really familiar with the series, but I'm more familiar with the Sonic Robo Blast 2, which is a really fun fan game that you really gotta check out. It's one of the best Sonic fan games out there right now. It's currently up to version 2.2.6. You definitely want to take a look at it when you have the time off. It should be www.srb2.org if you want to put that in chat. But overall, Steve was it was kind of a tough one. It was a hard-fought one, and it was just, Rando's gonna Rando.
It was definitely one of, and not just because of the fire rod, it was definitely one of the seeds that I'm not a fan of. It was very hard to figure out early how to route it, because I in particular have some difficulty with my routing when mirror comes really late. Like, I am a big fan of early mirror, and without it, like, routing just gets to be a struggle. And we were missing like one piece of what was needed to complete each dungeon. So like, bow was later, fire source was later, mirror was later, fire rod of course was go mode for us, which just meant like picking what to do next was awful. And as you notice, the way that I ended up routing the seed, I was orphaning things all over the place just because of lack of the item to do it. I didn't have what I needed to go to Helmasaur. I didn't have what I needed to do Basement of Hera. I couldn't get to land molas in the back of Desert. Just all of these wonky things all over the place that I had to orphan just because of the way that the items fell on that seed.
Yeah, this seed early on, it was really tough to get a read on. Both you and ProfessorRenderer did, leave Landmos and Hera Basement, just because the seed sort of forced you into making decisions like that. You can clear this dungeon. Do you really want to commit to an item in the Basement of Hera, or, like the seed gave you everything you needed for Desert except a fire source early? Like maybe that lamp is in there, especially once you started getting the stuff for the mountain, and started suspecting that lamp would probably be mountain access.
I imagine the extremely early Dark World access did not help.
No. No, that made it very confusing. And I left Eastern area alone for a really long time, which is why I ended up doing pod pretty early.
That hurts.
Both ProfessorRenderer did do Sahasrarla's Closet, but did pod before Eastern. Well, no, that's not true. You dipped Eastern before dipping pod.
He did Eastern and Desert because he did pod after doing Pyramid.
Yeah.
I was disappointed in the early access Pyramid Fairy with nothing in it.
Yeah, that was a big bait.
Yeah. And then Catfish didn't have anything either. That was just a whole, pyramid up to Catfish was absolutely nothing, and that felt bad.
Yep. You guys were doing Desert at the same time. You still had Armos to finish up. But yeah, you guys were doing those at roughly the same time.
But yeah, I figured with Swamp, I'm like, one item, left side, I have so many mirror checks, I have Smith Chain. Chances are it's going to be on Smith Chain or Mirror somewhere, and my opponent's going to be go-moding Swamp. I don't want to spend the extra time doing that left side. And
And it came back to bite you.
Yep.
Yeah, as Rando likes to do.
Rando's gonna Rando.
I mean, and now I'm going to play my next 15 seeds doing left side Swamp every time, and it's not going to be anything.
Just
All
have,
right.
Nate, just have Jere rolling for you. He'll continue to be left side Swamp requirements, right?
Or just Lazy Kid, or do Lazy Kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
another thing about this early seed that was really weird, it took a really long time to find a sword.
So
there were 3 swords.
Shout out to the 3 swords blocked by pod.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the sword that I got was on Dark Death Mountain, right?
Both of you got that sword first.
Yep.
Because both of you did the mountain out of logic before doing Zora. I'd also point out that was one of the hypiest hype caves we've seen in a long time.
That was
Yeah, for sure. Definitely one of the biggest hype caves. I mean, I just said straight up, that's a pretty good hype cave. So, after that, just that huge amounts of stuff in there, definitely worth the hype cave name this time around.
So, do you guys have any last thoughts on the seed, or the seed, the match, or the tournament in general?
See, in general, it was. I mean, again, like I said, it was definitely a hard-fought battle, which a hard-fought one for sure. And it was just the Rando's gonna Rando, and the left side Swamp just happened to be the right decision out of a bunch of really bad calls. the tournament as a whole, like I said, it was a spectacular. I mean, I've always one of these really excited when to put on these when these tournaments kind of show up to teach people how to play the game and at a more efficient pace. And like I said, last year's tournament got me into completing steeds. This tournament is just taking that to the next level and actually competing with some of the big names.
And Garrison, do you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, again, congratulations, Professor Renderer. Now it's on you to go win this bracket.
Hopefully.
And I would like to thank all the crew too. Thank you, Vortex and Zeke, for calling this game. Thank you, MM2 NES cartridge, for tracking, and thank you, Jere, Dudecia, for restreaming the race and picking up so many restreams this week. Just because there's not a lot of availability otherwise.
Seriously,
it's awesome to be able to see everything.
Yeah, I second that. Thanks to Comms, Tracker, Jere, Dudecia, just in general, they putting on this restream for everyone. I was just excited to finally like showcase two of our MSUs and our own lovely crafted MSUs and mine MSU. It's just something that just a passion project out of love for a really phenomenal Sonic fan game that I put the link to already, and it's just a spectacular game that you have to check out.
For those who are curious about the bracket, due to the format, this does mean WGarrison has been eliminated from the Master Sword bracket.
No.
And Professor Renderer will face its Otter next week, the number 2 seed.
I'm hoping for the best. Even if, like I said, if it's my last race or my second to last race, I don't care. I'm gonna go out strong.
So.
Yeah. Excellent. Right. With that, I think that should probably do it for us today. Thanks everyone for watching. I think, is there a restream later?
Let me double check the schedule real quick. If you'd shout out the runners and commentary while I do so. The runners, the crew, and the podcast.
Yeah. Once again, give both our runners a follow. This was a great race to watch and commentate. Give our crew a follow. Our Restreamer Jere Dudecia, our tracker MM2 NES cartridge, Zeke Highwind, and myself. It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic comms, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a little out of practice, or a little new to it, but yeah.
We do not have another restream tonight. Our next scheduled restream is at 7 Eastern tomorrow for, I believe it's a Gold Sword bracket, Leoria of Light versus Fred A.K. Durf.
Yeah,
that is one.
Definitely a good one to watch.
As well as an 11 p.m. Eastern, that is Floyd versus Grey Corvid.
Another fantastic match.
So, and because it's an early one, there's also an 8 a.m. Eastern one for Diesel Martini versus Crystal on that Saturday morning as well. One I will not be working with because mornings are not my specialty.
Same.
But yeah, from all of us at Go Mode Podcast, be sure to follow the podcast and join the Discord, by the way. I think we can get command for that out in chat.
Yeah, Jared's already got all the commands out for us. But
awesome,
do check the podcast. It teaches a lot of useful things about this randomizer.
Yeah, I can personally say that I have learned a ton in the short time that I've been following the community and involved in the tournament. So shout outs to everyone. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day, night, wherever you are.
Take it easy.